Hi there, it's Chris Dam again, General Sales Manager here at Brantford Toyota in Brantford, Ontario, Canada. Today we're going to talk about some accessories. Now, trucks, of course, have a ton of accessories. So today we're going to talk about tonneaus, folding hard tonneaus, why it's important to use a Toyota one. Yes, there are some aftermarket pieces, but we're going to go through how it works, why it works so well, and some tie-down cleats that are inside the bed as well. Okay, we're with the current generation Tundra here. I believe this is a 2022. It's a used model we happen to have on the lot. Before I open this genuine Toyota tonneau cover, just gonna go over part of its design. So you'll notice on the tailgate of our trucks, there's this little lip here. It sits up about, say, 3/4 of an inch. It's actually like a little spoiler. And it ties in with this design on the back of the cab. So in the previous generation Tundra had a big window that rolled down, and if you didn't have a tonneau on and maybe you had some debris in the bed of your pickup, the wind would come over the cab. It would do this big swirling thing and suck that stuff right back into your cab. Kind of unpleasant. With the tonneau, of course, it didn't happen. But that's the reason for the design. So here we are with the 2022. We've got this shape on the back of the cab, and we've got this corresponding spoiler. So what happens is the wind kind of gets funneled from the cab, makes its way down, does that. Eliminates this big swirling bit. So even though you may not have a tonneau on your truck, you're not gonna get that debris that gets sucked back in. So that's the reason for this, and that's also, in order for that to work, and this is also part of aerodynamics, right? Make the truck a little more slippery. But if you were to get, say, an aftermarket tonneau and it sat up, I don't know, inch and a half up a little higher, it sort of negates what this little spoiler's doing. So therefore we have to have one that's pretty flush in order for it to do its thing. So let's get into the tonneau here and see what we're working with. So I'm just going to open the tailgate. Love the way that works. Get a little release handle here. There's actually a cable you would hold on to, and as you go along, you just grab that cable. It does a little flip. There's times if you want to be able to see out your back window, for instance, you want to leave it at this point. This is enough to get that tall item home. If you were to leave it this far, there's a clip here you can unbuckle, and there's a corresponding little clip for it to secure it so this thing doesn't take off. You can tighten it up. But for today, for what we're demonstrating, we're going to keep going. So we're going to do one more fold, and this being a back flip, it keeps going. And the Toyota one actually still is low enough when it's back against the cab that you're not blocking those little cameras and your high level brake light, and those are actually lights incorporated there that light up your whole bed area in the dark. So, but in order to secure this, we have these little bars. So these come out, you loosen that little clip, down it goes. So now if you do the same thing on the other side, this doesn't move. So talking about the cameras real quickly, I've done that before, where of course now you're blocking your back window. Some of our trucks actually have a camera that corresponds to the mirror in the vehicle, so it's just like you can still see what's going on behind. The truck I have doesn't have that, but the camera you can turn on from time to time just to make sure whatever you got back here hasn't blown out of the vehicle. But every Tundra, and to be honest, every Tacoma since 2005 has had this rail system here. And the point of that rail system is you have these little tie-down cleats, and they slide back and forth. There we go. Trying to make that look as easy as possible. There we go. And you can put them wherever you like, but this tie-down system comes with the vehicle. So when you put a tonneau on, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little gap there now. We've had to lower it about I'd say about 1.5 inches in order to allow all this stuff for the tonneau, the bracketry, to work properly. One of the reasons why we like to, use a Toyota one is because these little brackets are still very strong. So once upon a time, and I'd have to check to see if this is still the case. I know with the Tacoma, These had about a 220-pound pull strength rating, and then they had little hooks in the floor on those tacos that were about 440 pounds. So what I've seen with the aftermarket tonneaus is, because they're got a little different bracketry, this tie-down rail, if you will, ends up hanging down even further. And I've literally seen it with the cleats installed, and you put a rope on it and you start pulling some tension on that rope, and those cleats, everything starts moving. It kind of defeats the purpose of things being, you know, secured in the vehicle. So that's why Toyota ones work the way they do. That's why we recommend using the Toyota Tonneau. There's lots of other stuff on the market that maybe is not up to par, different designs. You can get ones that slide in and out from some of the aftermarket, and they're all great too. But in order to keep the functionality of your rail system the same as what Toyota intended, I would recommend using the Toyota Tonneau for that reason. But you have these little cleats, so you can buy more of them. They typically come with 4, which you can move around, right? So if you kind of loosen them up, they go back and forth. You can put them exactly where you need them to go. So to take them off though, and it can be a little cumbersome because there's actually, you know, the hardware for holding them on might get in the way a little bit. You think, oh, I'll just slide it down to the end. There's a little, I'm doing this without looking at a little clip here. You don't need to do that. If you loosen this off enough and you sort of push it in, you can pull the whole thing out, and that's the bit that sort of holds it in place there. So then you can install it on the front of the box, for instance. There's also a rail there, or maybe for some reason you want to have 3 on one side because you're going, you know, along the side of the vehicle. But it comes off pretty easy. This design has been virtually unchanged in almost 20 years, I'd say. So push it in like that to get yourself started, and you can reincorporate it. And again, I'm testing my ability to do this without looking at it. There we go. Kind of snaps in, and then you just tighten it up. And it's sort of like a gas cap. It makes that little clicky noise once it gets far enough. I really loosened it up, so it's, there we go. And you want to make sure it's good and tight. So the reason I say that, if you just let it click and move on, I've had it where, I don't know, you got a dresser or something in the back, and the strap's going to go around it, and you start cranking on the strap. Well, if the forces are such, if it's too much of an angle on the strap, if this isn't quite tight enough, it's going to drag it inside the rail, and then of course everything gets loose and defeats the purpose of tying it down. So make sure you kind of push it in as you're turning, give it a couple good clicks. That won't go anywhere. And you do have some additional tie downs that are in the bed down further, but depending on how tall the item is that you have in the vehicle. So that's just, again, nothing new, but you'd be amazed how many people don't know how to use them properly or how to move them around. So that's our little tip for today. So we're gonna do a literal closing here on this video as I'm closing the Tonneau. You can do it with one arm, but lots of Toyota accessories. We'll do some more videos on, again, it's a truck. There's probably 3 or 4 different types of running boards. There's a step for guys like me that kick down. We'll go over all that stuff. But if you like the video, please like and subscribe below. Until the next time, it's Chris Dan from Brantford Toyota. Have yourself a great day.